It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's Brouhaha. Once again, it's the, well, I don't know if you would call it a dynamic duo, but a duo. One, that'll work. Won't it, Dale? McKee and Marshall Wood. How about that?
Yeah.
Are we dynamic, Dale?
Yeah, we're like the Bopsy twins. Somebody. Who are the Bopsy twins?
I don't know, but I've heard
them all my life.
We're going to look into that. We may have a show on the Bopsy twins. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, did you have a big weekend?
I did.
Did you go somewhere?
I did. I went to Oxford, Mississippi.
What was going on up there?
Well, it's cold up there at night.
Was it?
It's cold at night.
Wow.
It's jacket weather.
You couldn't get an inside seat?
I did.
What you doing cold?
I did get an inside seat about.
Dang, man.
I sat outside for, I don't know, through almost to halftime.
Because you wanted to.
I did. I wanted to experience it.
Out there with the lessers.
Yeah. The people that invited me were not lessers. I'm just telling you.
Well, I didn't think they were.
So anyway.
But they didn't have a one ticket?
What's that?
They didn't have a one ticket?
I think he had like a dozen tickets.
Oh, man. Anyway. I'm just saying, I mean, would have been nice.
Yeah. To go?
Yeah.
Well, when you get qualified.
You got to do 40 plus years of sports writing to do that, though, don't you?
Well, you got to get qualified,
You know that's not going to work there, what you do.
See, somebody like Charlie Britton would have been qualified to go.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because you got to be bona fide to be qualified, right?
Yeah.
It starts with bonification, then qualification.
Yeah. Well, see, he's been up there. He knows the landscape and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure there's several people in Waynesboro that know all about Oxford.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. I really do.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience. I experienced something I'd never done before. I got to fly up on a private jet.
Yeah.
Took us 37 minutes from Pine Belt to get to Oxford.
Ain't but the only way. I wonder what the poor folks was doing.
I don't know. It took us. I learned that we weren't on the best because there was a jet next to us that was going to take off with 20 people and they had what they call a gust stream.
Yeah.
Those things are
nice.
That's
the kind I got.
That's like having, I don't know, what's the most gorgeous car ever made, I don't know. It used to be Rolls Royce, I guess. But anyway, it looked good from the distance. It was a 20-seater, I heard.
Was it going the same place you were going?
I think so. And my son works in aircraft aviation, and he told me that, that plane could probably go in any airport in the country. It could go in places like Aspen, Colorado. He said the one I was on probably couldn't. And I don't know what the difference was. We didn't get into a lengthy conversation about it, but he was happy for me. And my wife was thrilled to death, that I got to go because she's
glad you were gone.
She's just my big supporter. But I'm just so grateful that I wasn't there to be fussing at my television because I didn't have SEC Network or ESPN, or ABC.
What's wrong with these people?
I don't know, So I'm glad I got to go. So my wife was, during the ball game, she wanted me to send her all these pictures and texts and stuff like that. So she said, what channel's the game on? I said, well, it's either going to be on ESPN or SEC Network. So she was up there and she said, we don't have those channels anymore. I said, oh my God. They did pull the plug.
They pulled
it. I said, oh my goodness. And I said, well, she said, I'm going to start looking for another provider. And I said, well, let's wait and talk about it when I get home tomorrow. Like, don't change.
She's ready to drop the
She was ready to change. She wanted to see that game.
Hammer time.
Because I was there because she was going to get a glimpse of me. So I told her, I said, I'm right under the Charlie Connolly number, 42. He was up there and, they posted the numbers of the greats, and so we were above him,
That's a good number to be by.
Yeah, 42, yeah.
He was one of the great ones for no shirt. For no shirt.
Yeah.
No
but
doubt.
I really enjoyed my time. I did have to go inside. It did get a little cold.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who won?
Oh, okay. I think Ole Miss did.
Whoop them again, Josie.
Yeah, I read something, and that Ole Miss for the last 4 years has been 8-1, but they hadn't been 9-1, and they got a good chance this week. They're probably going to be a very heavy favorite against Citadel. I know that's an Army, a military school, and I looked at some of their schedule, and they're not a very, it's going to be a miracle if they would, even compete with Ole Miss, to be honest with you. And Ole Miss, I thought their offense was sluggish. They didn't throw the ball. Their tempo was off, and but I thought the defense had one of their better games. Especially,
it's been getting better.
Yeah, the kid from Raleigh really looked good, Perkins. He had 6.
He had a pick to end the game.
Yeah, he had a pick. He had 6 tackles and a sack. And what was strange is last year he had 10 sacks. That sack the other night was his first this year.
I wonder where he's been.
Well, I think they've kind of
scheming for him.
Yeah, redefined his position. But boy, he was getting after the quarterback. I was very proud for him. I know his high school coach really well. He played with my son in high school, and so I'm very proud for the people from Raleigh. They've had some great football players come out of there.
Well, Dale, listen, we about out of time here on our first segment already. Who you got for our guest tonight?
We're going to talk high school football for a little bit.
Oh, really?
We're going to get one of the best knowledgeable men in the Pine Belt to help us.
And that would be?
Stan the Man. Do I need to say anything?
That's all you got to say. Stan the Man Caldwell.
You remember on Seinfeld, Stan the Man.
That's right.
You never listened to Stan the Man.
All righty. Well, I tell you what, let's don't wait any longer. Let's take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be back right after this message with Stan the Man Caldwell. See you after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Stan Caldwell. But I have to make it a little announcement though. He's really called Stan the Man.
There you go.
So, so he's kind of a legend.
That's what they say, or Mr. Stan. Or Mr. Stan. That's kind of how I answer nowadays anyway.
Well, I could call you Mr. Caldwell. But anyway. But listen.
Stan is good for me, man.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate Stan. Anyway, we're just going to talk a little high school football with you because we just feel like that you've seen a lot more teams than we have. I have seen Wayne County, Northeast Jones, and South Jones, and a few of those folks. I've seen West Jones, but I just we just want you to talk a little bit about it. So, what teams would you like to talk about first?
Well, first I got to tell you, the first team I want to talk about is Wayne County. Their season's been it's really been kind of schizophrenic. They lost their first 6 games. They were 0-6. But then you look at who they played, and you kind of see where they were going with the scheduling. I mean, they opened the season with Williamson, one of the best teams in Mobile. They're 9-0. Bleak Central, they're 8-2. They're the number 1 seed in their region. Northwest Rankin, 5-4. Good 7-8 team. They're still in the hunt in probably the toughest league in the state in region 3-7-8. George County's only 3-6, but they're a good football team, and they're going to be in the playoffs. Of course, we all know about West Jones. That was a 1-point game, which tells you that. And then they lost to Stone County, which is again another really good team. They play really great defense, and then now they've won 3 straight, and they're really on a roll. They've clinched number 2 seed, and they're going to get probably either Sunral or trying to think what I've got here, Sunral and or South Jones in one of those. So it's going to be a great. They're really kind of playing real well now. So I like Wayne County to kind of surprise people here in the playoffs.
Well,
they've got Northeast Jones this week. on the road. And so that'll be a good game. Northeast is pretty good. They've got a good defensive front, a couple of good running backs. Their problem is they're on their third quarterback, and that's kind of been the issue for them. They've not got consistent play at the quarterback position, and that's really hurt them. But they're very capable. Their defense is really good. In fact, every team in that league plays great defense. Purvis, we talked about them. They're 5-4 overall. Kind of up and down, but they're like I said, they haven't really been blown out except the one game they played pass, which again pass Christian, they're 8-1. So again, all these teams kind of scheduled tough, and it's showing up here at the end of the year. All these teams are playing pretty good football. East Central, if they were in last place, they beat Van Cleve last week. So that's a really hotly competitive league, and it's going to be interesting to see how those teams fare in the playoffs.
Well, just interrupting you for just a minute about the list that we're going to go down to today. You're going to talk about the teams, but I really don't like the way the Mississippi High School, when they went to this 7A classification, it's made it very difficult for places like Wayne County to schedule. And if you win, like a poor Heidelberg or something like that, it's even more difficult. But Wayne County, it has to schedule 6 non-district games. And
right,
and that's a lot.
They all do. Except the one, I think the one league on the coast was they've got 7 teams in that league down there. I think it's 4-7A, Gulfport and all that bunch.
Sure, and Wayne County still got that reputation of being a powerhouse, even though they've had a couple of lean years here lately. But it's real difficult, and I've even talked to Corey Reynolds about a schedule, and he said the more you win, it's more difficult to schedule. And so,
exactly.
And I think Daryl Carter at Heidelberg is having the same issue. Some
absolutely.
People say,
that was one of the teams I wanted to mention. They had to go to Tennessee to play McKee, and that they lost by 3 points, which I think is as good as a win for them. Because just a little small school Mississippi team going up to kind of a big city, so to speak, and playing a big time team in McKee, and coming away with only a 3-point loss. That's pretty good for Heidelberg.
Yeah, and if they'd had a kicker, it'd have been a different game. They could have had an extra.
Exactly. But that's what you get when you play 2A football. Your kicking game is kind of hit and miss, and you got to go with what you got, and so that's just the way it is in those smaller schools.
Well, listen, tell us a little bit about the West Jones-Hattiesburg game last week. That was kind of I didn't really think it'd be a blowout.
Hattiesburg made a statement Friday night without question. They're going to be a team to keep a real close eye on in the 5A playoffs. But they've got to get past Terry this week. That's not going to be an easy game. That's the last season finale. Right now, Hattiesburg is plus 12 in the tiebreakers, but and West Jones is was plus 9 or minus 9 against they beat. They beat Terry by 9, so that's kind of the way the tiebreaker falls in that region. Hattiesburg's got a really dynamic offense. They've got probably the best receiver in the state, Tristan Keys. He's been out. He missed the first half of the season with a knee injury, but he's back. They've got Davion Young, who's he's a good slot guy, and a quarterback, Gavin Ducksworth, who's a junior. He was playing at PCS last year, so he's really new to the system there, but he has really come on strong. They're playing good football. Terry is playing great defense. They're only averaging 8.7 points allowed, so they're 8-1. So this is going to be a really good matchup for Hattiesburg. A good test for them going into the playoffs. West Jones, their season's been kind of up and down, hit and miss. They went to Petaluma and didn't play very well, but then they played some really good teams that of course they beat Wayne County by 1 point. Their season's been, like I said, been up and down. They've got that tradition. They'll probably have to go on. They'll probably be at home if Hattiesburg takes care of business, but they should. But you never know. When you tee it up with a good football team that plays good defense, it's not going to be an easy task for Hattiesburg. West Jones has got some momentum. They'll have a pretty easy time of it this week, and then get ready for the playoffs. The playoffs are interesting. Have you what about a team like South Jones and Sumrall? I know you've seen them. What do you think about that? Since they may be a win? They were playing really well early in the season. They had a kind of setback with when they lost their top running back for 2 games, and it really kind of stunted their momentum a little bit. But they've still got they've got Laurel this week, and that's going to be determine where they end up going as far as the playoffs go. Laurel is right now very much in the hunt. They were always like Wayne County. They had a we're starting against a really tough schedule, but right now they're 3-1 in the region, and if they win, they would get the number 2 spot. South Jones wins, they get the 2, and then Laurel's the 3. Summerall plays Natchez, and that's basically the winners in playoffs, losers out with that situation. Summerall's got a pretty good team. They got shut out the time against South Jones, but They've got a really good defense. They got a good attitude going there. The coach, of course, is Drew Granger. He was at Taylorsville last year, so he's got a real good pedigree. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with South Jones and Laurel Thursday night, to see which team is going to be at home next week and which team will be on the road. So South Jones, I think they're starting to get their mojo back a little bit there. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah,
and one thing
hold on. I was just going to say for our listeners, the 2, 3, and 4 playoffs begin this Friday night, and that's why all of the 1, 5, 6, and 7 are playing on Friday night. That's just
right.
But you go ahead.
It's basically because of the situation with officials and referees. They just don't have enough good referees anymore to go around. And you probably saw my story about what happened at Northeast Jones last Friday night. That was
why don't you tell that story? It's a good story to tell.
Inexcusable.
Yeah, I read your column. So tell us about that.
It was just what happened. Stone County was driving down the field. They had a first and goal at the 5. They lost a scoreless game late first quarter. They lost 10 yards on a reverse, and then they threw incomplete. And there was a long discussion about whether the pass was intentional grounding or not. And after they finished discussion, the head referee held his fist up, said 4th down, and we're all looking at this other saying, what's going on here? But the call stood, and he forgot the down. He just flat out forgot the down. Stone had settled for a field goal, which fortunately they made. And that's another about Stone County is Stone High. They've got a really good kicking game. Really good special teams. That was really what won the game for them Friday night over at Northeast. So so that's why they've gone to this Friday schedule for the last regular season games. They want to make sure they have the best officials at the biggest games because it doesn't turn out something like what happened Friday night with just a referee just flat out forget the down. I don't know how to explain that. I kind of like it because it spreads. It gives me that chance to see an extra football game. I'm going to Oak Grove Friday night or Thursday night, to see them. They'll probably finish second if Petal wins against Northwest Rankin. But then I've got Forest County against Poplarville. Poplarville's been a good story. I've seen them twice already. They've got the best running back in the state, Tylen Keys. He's run for over 2,000 yards. Their defense has been a little suspect. I saw Forest County last week against Greene County. They're tough. It's typical. It's typical Forest County. They're a bunch of country boys and a few of the kids from Palmer's up here at Hattiesburg. They grind it out. They play tough defense. They're big up front. They got a couple pretty good athletes, and so they'll give Poplarville some trouble. That's going to be a good football game. I'm looking forward to that one. But Poplarville's got it. They've lost 4 games, and the teams they've lost to West Harrison, good 7-8. They lost to Picayune, which a game they dominated for 3 quarters, and then they lost by 1 point to Macomb, and then of course they got beat pretty badly last week against Columbia. But then Columbia's been doing that to everybody this year. So it's going to be an interesting week. I'm really excited about it. I've got basketball Tuesday night. It's that time of the year. I'm going to Summerall tomorrow night for basketball. So it's going to be a good week. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, listen, let's ask some recruiting questions for you now. Slow you down just a minute. What about the Keys kid from Hattiesburg? He committed to LSU early, and now he's supposedly a commitment to Tennessee. Do you think he changed his mind again?
So far, he seems to be holding firm with Tennessee. With Tennessee, I know he's really dynamic athlete. He's got to get. I think he's got to get a little bit tougher mentally. Of course, he had the knee surgery in August, which kind of set him back a little bit. But he's legitimate. He's 6'3", 185. can fly. He runs good patterns. Great athlete. He was an excellent basketball player as well. In fact, initially he was better at basketball. That's since not the case since he's focused on football. But another kid who everybody want to talk about is Jace Matthews from Greene County. He's another one that's really been highly recruited. He suffered a knee injury in the third game of the season. He's been out all year, but he's committed to Auburn, and so once he has surgery and gets his rehab going, he'll be somebody to keep an eye on at the wide receiver position at Auburn. Now, how that plays in with what happened this weekend with Hugh Freeze, that's the question that I don't have an answer for. But so it's going to be, of course, the Kings kid from Poplarville. I mentioned him. He's a junior, but he's already top rated among the running backs in the South. So that's another one to keep an eye on for looking ahead to the class of 27.
Well, somebody last week told a running joke there that Saban would have already hired Franklin from Penn State, Freeze from Auburn, and Brian Kelly from LSU as an analyst right after they were fired, if he was still coaching. So that's the running joke. That's the running joke. But listen, we got a lot of football. Just switching and just get your comments, Ron, because I know you keep up with the college game too. But how they gonna fill all these slots? I mean, people keep filling. How many quality coaches are out there? I'm just wondering about that. And
Well, you hear the same names regurgitated all the time. You've got Brian Kelly, Marcus Freeman. Of course, James Franklin's on the market. He's available. Lane Kiffin. I don't think Lane. By the way, speaking of Lane Kiffin, I don't think Lane's going anywhere for at least 2 more years. His son is a really hot shot quarterback at Oxford High. He's a sophomore. Oxford High is a good place for him. It's a really great program, one of the best in the state. Chris Cutlass, a great coach. David Cutlass was his father. So he kind of learned offense at the knee of a really good one. So I think Lane is committed to Ole Miss for at least the next 2 years. After that, we'll see kind of how he where he is and what where Ole Miss is in 2 years. But I don't think Lane's going anywhere the next couple of years. So there's that. But you got to start looking at some of these assistants. Charles Huff is going to be a hot prospect. With what Jadby's done here at USM. So that, you start looking at some of the young defensive coordinators, the offensive coordinators, guys that are up and coming, and see that don't cost as much. Frankly, I mean, these schools have been showing out $50 million for buyouts, and then they've got to hire another guy. It's really kind of starting to get a little bit insane there, Dale. And it's really hurting the game, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know the Louisiana governor got involved in the deal with Brian Kelly about the payout.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
No, I'm not. I'm not. But he kept saying that he's the one that did the Jimbo Fisher contract. Well, he wasn't. Scott Woodard, the AD, was not. There was a guy that used to be the AD at Ole Miss that went to A&M that's now at Ohio State. He's the one that signed Jimbo Fisher. So, but I think that, 50, of course, somebody said that they had lowered his buyout to $20 million because of some character issues. And of course, anybody can make up character issues.
I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked about that as Brian Kelly. I have my own opinion about Brian Kelly that I'll keep to myself. But it's not it's not flattering. Let's put it that way.
You see married couples and you say, well, they go together, and then you see married couples and you say, they don't go together. And Brian Kelly never went together with LSU.
Exactly.
Yeah, he never went. He was a bad fit from the start. I couldn't even believe that they hired him. But anyway.
Yeah, well, he was. He didn't. I didn't think he did a very good job at Notre Dame. He kind of left Marcus Freeman with a little bit of some holes to fill there. So I know. I've never had a very high opinion of Brian Kelly. And that's really all I'll say about that.
I got you. Well, who is the best team that you've seen this year on film or covered? A high school team?
High school?
Yeah.
Probably the best high school team I've seen this year, either Picayune or Hattiesburg. I've seen Hattiesburg twice. They've been really impressive offensively. Picayune is probably the team that's what you would say would be the best team, but they didn't play very well tonight. I saw them. They were against Poplarville, and Poplarville had probably had a tying touchdown at the end that was not called because of a fumble that was fairly controversial at the end there. But it was, a 7-point game. So Picayune's got a really, really good football team. They were going into a bye week that week, so and Cody Stoddard told me frankly, said we need the bye week. We've got some things to work on, and they've come out of that bye week, playing pretty strong football here. Once they got into their region, so I would say probably Picayune just overall, offensive, defensive. But Hattiesburg's offense is really dynamic. They've got athletes, at every position. Their defense is young, real young freshmen and sophomores, but man, they're big, they're physical, and they're quick. So yeah. That's probably either Hattiesburg or Picayune. Those two, probably the two best teams I've seen so far this year.
Hey, Stan, this is Marshall. I kind of gave you a little warning in our little pregame interview here that I'd show up and say we're out of time. Well, here I am, and we're out of time, man. I tell you, it flies when you're having fun. Listen, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to ask you to hold on just a minute, and Dale and I are going to take a break here for one of our sponsors, and we'll be back with tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. When you say Stan the man, you meant it, son. Stan can break it down, and he don't mind doing it in a quick, fast, in a hurry, man. He knows his stuff.
Every Stan the man I've ever known, including him, there's a great Stan the man Musial. Of course, he's from Kansas, so he probably grew up a Cardinal fan. And also there was, on the Seinfeld episode, Kramer had an advisor. He had a lawyer. He's going to sue this woman for a candy bar deal or something, and or he was going to sue an heiress to a candy bar deal, and his golfer was his golfing buddy was named Stan the Man, and so his lawyer said, no, we don't need her to try that. Try that on here in the courtroom. It was a spinoff of O.J. Simpson, and Stan the Man, little golfer, about 5 foot tall, he leans over there and he said, "Go for it." And Kramer said to his lawyer, "Get after him."
He said, "Go for it."
Yeah, he said, "Go for it."
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. So those are the three great Stan the Mans. but Stan advises on something. Wayne County may play South Jones or something wrong.
Well, you see, I was wanting to, we ran out of time, but I was wanting to get to that. He knows all these points and stuff, and I don't really know that, and you probably do. But I don't know, Sumrall? I mean, I didn't see that.
Well, no, Sumrall is, they're in the other league. And
yeah.
I'm not sure about their points and all that kind of stuff, because you're really going to have to figure it out Thursday night, because South and Laurel is a crucial game. And right now, I would favor Laurel in that game because South has had some injuries. And I know some people that work over there, and I talk to them fairly often. They're not actually coaches, but they're they're down there at South Jones working. But anyway, so if Laurel wins, Brookhaven's going to be number 1 over there. We know Laurel's going to be number 2, especially if they win. The winner of the South Laurel game should be 2. Okay, then you got South would probably be ahead of Purvis, because they beat Purvis, okay? And so I think South has lost to North Pike, who's only won 1 game.
Yeah.
And like South was like 7-0 when they beat them. And that's when South had several injuries. And then I believe that South lost to Brookhaven. And so they've lost 2 games in the district. So I imagine going into this Friday night, they'd be 2-2.
Yeah.
And Laurel is 3-1. So ever who wins this game will be, probably finish second. Yeah. And so I would think right now that Laurel would probably have they're just playing so well, where South has kind of slowed down after that 7-0 start. So like they're 1-2 in the last 3 games. Yeah. So, the momentum has a lot to do with it here at the end of the season. So I think, Purvis is in the mix too. So you just don't know if Purvis is going to be forward. I don't really keep up with their district as much as ours. In our district, we are definitely going to be number 2. Mm-hmm. Of course, Stone's going to be number 1. We've lost one. Stone's undefeated in district play. All right, so 3, 4, and 5. That's going to be the telling story, because the biggest thing is if I want to say if let's see, if Van Cleve, they won one game. All right, if they go into Purvis and win, then they would be 3 and Purvis would be 4 and Northeast would be left out. So even if Northeast beat us, go to the point system and everything, I think Northeast would be left out. So really, if Van Cleve beats Purvis, it's over for Northeast. But if Purvis beats Van Cleve, then Northeast could finish 4th.
Well,
So there's a 3-way deal there for those 3 teams.
we're just not going to know till it's time to know, brother.
Yeah, I think Van Cleve really hurt themselves last week with their loss to East Central.
Yeah.
But I thought East Central was a very good football team. I didn't know it until Paul King wrote in the County News that they ran like 70-something plays, and we ran 29 that night. Yeah. And, our defense came up with some big plays in that game. Sure
At the
did.
right time.
At the right time, yeah.
Speaking of that time, we're out of it, Dave.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, we want to thank our listeners for joining us tonight. We want to thank Stan the Man Caldwell for stepping in and bringing all of his information to the table. We want to let you know that you can follow us on our Facebook page at the Brouhaha, and we have all the shows cataloged for you where you can listen to them on demand at our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, folks. We'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.